All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Traveling Owls and Thomas P. Gohagan webinar. We are excited to have Robert Bingle here with us to explain our 2021 trips. And I'll be here in case you have any Rice or Traveling Owl specific questions, but I really do hope that you take this advantage of Robert's time and listen to him and get to know about his company and those trips and ask any of those specific questions that you have. I do want to go over a few Zoom housekeeping items first. You're welcome to mute your video while the presentation is happening, and then come off mute afterwards when we've got that Q&A, so that can be a little bit more of a dialogue. If you have any questions that pop up while the presentation is happening, you can go ahead and put those in the chat, and I'll be kind of monitoring those to make sure we can loop back to them. Please be or have your audio on mute when you are not speaking, so that we can cut out any excess background noise. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Robert.
All right, thank you, Shannon, and thank you all for letting me be a part of this. This is great. I have to say, I wish I was coming to Houston again, like I normally do for these events. But in lieu of that, this is exciting, and I'm grateful for this opportunity and letting me come and speak to you all. So. My name, as Shannon said, is Robert, or some of you might know me if I've had the chance to meet you as Bobby. I actually, in a previous role before this, was fortunate enough to be one of our travel directors. And I traveled with the Traveling Owls on many, many trips and always thought very highly of them. And on one other side note, I'm a big Houston Rockets fan. So I know we're in the heat of a series right now. So without further ado, Shannon is going to be helping me with some of these slides here. And I'll kind of give you an overview of our company and then kind of talk about a few things and then dive into 4 really great trips that we're going to be offering with the Owls in 2021. As you'll see, it's a really neat roster in that it's, first of all, great mixture of times of year, but then modes of travel: river, land, ocean, sea, just a little bit of everything. So I'm ready. So Shannon, if you don't mind moving to the next slide here, I'll kind of give an overview of our company. So we've been in academic educational travel for over 35 years. That's always been our main element of our trips. We really hammer home the educational academic component, where we go to these sites and we want to get to know them in an in-depth, impactful way. So what does that mean? How do we do that? In addition to, so first of all, on our excursions, a prime example is that we go out there, we seek out operators who have local guides who oftentimes are PhDs or they're professors, or they know the places like the back of their hand, but in a really in-depth way, as opposed to walking around Santorini with a college kid, which no offense to them, I was one, but we really put the extra element to get our top-notch guides. The other thing would be our lecture series. On any trip, we have speakers from the various sponsoring universities and organizations who are experts in the location. So you might have a lecture on Pompeii the night before then going and visiting the site. And that really adds a dynamic element to these trips. The other special thing about us is that when we use ships, it's alumni exclusive and it's a full charter. For those of you who might not be familiar with that, that means that we are fully taking over the ship with just our group of academic institutions and their travelers and their professors. So this allows us to create unique itineraries that aren't available to the public. It allows us to craft them with the cruise lines that we're using so that we can go into these various ports and places that they maybe normally don't do outside of working with us. And it also allows us to do our things like the lecture series and our village life forums, where we bring local individuals on board to kind of connect and really talk to our travelers about what day-to-day life is at the locations. So that hits on kind of our just general overview of Gohagan and Company. And as I get into the trips, you'll get a better idea. And so Shannon, we can go ahead and move on. Thank you very much. Okay, so now the 1 million pound elephant in the room, as we all know, everything has changed, and certainly the travel landscape has changed. So As Gohagan and Company, our suppliers, our operators, the cruise lines have all been working for the last 5 months, just night and day, around the clock to figure out when people are ready to start traveling again, what's the best, the safest way. So for 35 years, we've always put the premium on the safety and well-being above all of our travelers. Whether that be, we've had instances where, in 2011, there was the uprising in Egypt. We had travelers there. We chartered a flight, got them all out of there within 6 hours of it. And we've done that time and time again in various situations. This, of course, is a lot different and bigger, and the magnitude is larger than anyone has seen in our travel industry. But we're taking all the necessary steps to make sure that we can ensure safe travel. So some of those, and we're going to have all these on our website. We're still kind of finalizing some of them with our operators, but to give you a general kind of overview of what some of that might look like for future travel, at least the next year or two, probably. Advanced health screening. So this would be even before arrival. A lot of flights, a lot of destinations are even requiring that you have to prove a negative test within a certain number of hours. For us, it'll be a confidential health assessment, health screening provided by the traveler before being allowed to begin the program. And then upon arrival, for most of these ships, there will be tests likely taken, but that might be it'll be non-contact thermometers for people's temperatures at the jumping off point, general wellness checks, and of course, if there's ever any need for medical attention, we'll be there to assist with all of that. For our staff, that means practicing all of the various practices that I'm sure you're all well aware of now that have been in place to keep people safe, to social distancing. All of our staff will be wearing masks, we'll be sanitizing, cleaning. On our transportation and excursions, we'll be doing smaller numbers of groups on the actual coaches. They'll be constantly cleaned. All the drivers, all of our guides are going to be constantly tested and not be able to interact if anyone has temperatures, things of that nature. As I kind of mentioned on the shipboard travel, there's going to be distancing on the ship. The buffet style will go away. It'll be kind of a la carte dining, things like that. Same with hotels where we are working in, and that's another item with the charter of these ships, is that it allows us to add any even more stringent protocols that we need before we allow any of our travelers onto these ships, and they're working very well with us. And these are all still there. We have a lot of hard ones in place, but as as the international travel landscape changes and things change, the various safety protocols might alter in various directions, always with the mindset that health and well-being of travelers is absolutely at the forefront. So, and again, we'll have that on our website where you can look in depth at what that all means going forward. But now I'd love to maybe get into some of our trips. So we start with our ancient empires, Malta to Rome. So this is a great trip. And what I love about it is that you get a full breadth of Sicily. First of all, you start in Malta. So before you're even going up north along the coast or into Sicily, you start in Malta. We spend a full day in Valletta, which is fantastic. But then when we go to Sicily, we go and you get a full breadth of it, Syracuse and Taormina and Agrigento. So it's not just going to one area or, cruising by Mount Etna and then going back to Rome or something like that. It's the full deal. And so this will be May 30th, 2021, and it's our Ancient Empires Malta to Rome. Shannon, if you will. All right. So this is a great ship. It's called the Le Jacques Cartier. So this is part of Ponant's new Explorer fleet. So they've introduced, Compagnie de Ponant is a French company, and we've been working with them since their inception back when they first put their first ship on the water, which was 2010. And we are the largest charterer of Ponant in the entire world. They are an absolutely fantastic company. The ships are wonderful. And because of our partnership, we're really able to make some fantastic itineraries with them. It's a 5-star small ship. 100% private balconies. The entire trip is all inclusive. So, open bars, everything. You don't pay for a thing once you get onto the ship. It has the International Clean Ship certification, which is very important. They put a very, very strong emphasis on being environmentally conscious. It'll be about 140 people or so on it. So it's a really nice group size. And that small ship size, in addition to kind of having the intimate feeling, it allows us to get in some restrictive ports that some of the other ships aren't able to get into. And this is a prime itinerary example where, you know, we might be going outside of Positano or something, and you see some big ship a mile off and they're not able to get where we get. So a wonderful ship. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the Blue Eye. So that is the world's only under the hull viewing window / bar. It's wild, it's out there. Some places it's a lot neater than others, like down in Costa Rica and Panama, it's great. Going up the Thames River, not so much. You see some Jack the Ripper remnants, things of that nature. But in any event, it is a unique element to this ship and people really enjoy it. And the more champagne you drink, the bigger the fish get. So Shannon, please, we'll start the itinerary. All right. So where will we begin? Like I said, and I love maps. So in each of my slides here, I'm kind of going to hone in a little bit on where we're at on the map. So we'll start in Valletta in Malta. So Malta has an absolute great, rich history. And right off the bat, starting the trip, we get into this very unique, kind of less visited part of the southern portions of Italy. So it'll include the Grand Master's Palace, the Barocca Gardens, Encore, seeing these wonderful ruins going back to 300, 400 BCE, and then you're just along the coast of Sicily. So you're always back to the ship where you want to go kind of in the harbor and grab a glass of wine. You know, you really can't beat it. And all right, so then we continue on and let's see here. It's all right, no problemo. We go to Syracuse. So now we're getting to the southeastern portion of the Sicilian island here. Syracuse, we continue on to kind of keep going with the theme of what we had seen the day before in Agrigento, is that we're going to see more Greco-Roman ruins, including some the Roman amphitheater, the Greek theater, and then they have a spectacular archaeological museum. But again, you're back at the ship, you're back in town in this wonderful Syracuse. By the end of the day, we go to Ortigia, which is the old town of Syracuse. You grab a glass of wine, you see these incredible little, you can see that top left picture, that would be Ortigia, that's what the streets look like. And then we cruise onward, and of course we go past then Stromboli, which I have the picture there of the volcano. And so from there, we've done Malta, we've done our Sicilian experience. You know, the full time, you're doing a full 3 days in Sicily. So it's not a one and done kind of thing. And then you still have the Amalfi Coast to look forward to. So it's great. So we move on upward, and then we go to the Isle of Capri, and then the Amalfi Coast for Positano. And I have to do the picture there on the left. That would be Positano, because that's the name of the game on the Amalfi Coast. Just these absolutely stunning seascapes, the food, the wine, the fresh fish. All of that is just, it's just incredible. And the other beautiful part about that would be that we continue also to have some of the more kind of cultural, historic stops, whether it's the Augustus Gardens in Capri, or we go to, you know, we do some of the other, a few more ruins on the way to Positano. But the next few days here before Pompeii are really just about just enjoying the Amalfi Coast. In retrospect, I wish I might not have put a picture of Pompeii next to a picture of someone enjoying wine next to Positano. A little bit tone deaf on my part, I apologize. But to add to that, we do get to see the famed city of Pompeii that was in ruins after the volcanic eruption of '79. And so that completes our trip on a really positive note. But it's a beautiful, incredible cultural site and historic site to see, and something, if you're in that region, you cannot miss. Pompeii is really incredible. So that would be the first program we have with the Owls in 2021, the Ancient Empires. All right, and then we have a Valletta pre-tour extension and we have a Rome post-tour extension. We do extensions for most of our trips where if you want to get a little bit more in depth on some of the places. So Valletta, Rome, you would see the highlights of either of those for an extra 2 to 3 nights depending. And thank you, Shannon. Okay. The great journey, or as some would say, the greatest journey through Europe. Now, this is maybe my favorite itinerary because at first, as you see through the map, you're getting parts of the Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, and technically France, because Strasbourg is part of France. So it combines a Rhine River cruise starting in Amsterdam, making our way down south, kind of going through the Rhine Valley, the Lorelei Passage, and then finishing with 4 days in the heart of Switzerland. And if you move along, please, Shannon, thank you. And so there you go, planes, trains, ships, and more. So we were really kind of doing all sorts of different modes of transportation to see this incredible part of Europe. So you've got beginning on the Amadeus Silver 3. It's a little bit over 100, 110 people on it, an absolutely beautiful ship. We've been using Amadeus, part of the Lufner group, for a number of years now, and these are all new ships that they have out there, some of the absolute best in European rivers. The Glacier Express, which weaves its way through the Swiss Alps that we go on later in the trip. You have the Gornergratbahn, which will take us up from Zermatt to see then the Matterhorn, as you can see by that kind of dramatic picture there. And then finally the steepest cogwheel train in all the world, the Mount Pilatus cogwheel train, which goes down from Mount Pilatus to the base of Lake Lucerne. So I can kind of dive into the itinerary a little bit here. So we begin, like I said, with the cruise. We start in Amsterdam, so we'll begin with a canal cruise through Amsterdam. So right off the bat, you're getting into one of the best experiences in Europe, in my opinion, going through all the various canal waterways of Amsterdam, before then making our way south and heading down towards Switzerland. So the first stop along the way would be Cologne. You can see in that bottom left picture, you can see the famous Cologne Cathedral there. You have a great confluence of various Gothic, you have Romanesque architecture, even going back there. Just incredible different types of architecture going back, you know, over the course of 600, 700 years. Moving on, we go down from Cologne to Koblenz. And the neat part of Koblenz, which I tried to present there in that picture, is that it's the confluence of the Moselle and the Rhine River. And it's a really neat experience to walk along where the two rivers meet, in addition to being just a really wonderful village again. And like Cologne, has some really spectacular old architecture going from medieval all the way up to Gothic and beyond. The final thing there, if you can see in the bottom right, oh, sorry, that's okay, would be Rudesheim. And maybe my favorite stop along the way. It's known for its Rudesheim sweet wines. And we go up through the vineyards, and you go down to the cellar, and you have this gentleman who's the most legendary winemaker in Rudesheim, and you get to partake in his taste testing, which he does every day. He does always swallow. You know, he needs to really get the full taste, and he might not be as cogent as we'd like by the end of the excursion, but it's all part of the experience, and it's fantastic. Okay, moving on. All right, so then we continue on from Mannheim, and the main thing there would be the Heidelberg Castle. As you can see, that would be a shot looking up at the Heidelberg Castle from the Rhine River. It's still in relatively nice shape, certainly on the outside. The inside is somewhat in ruins, but it's a remarkable castle and experience. The following day would be Strasbourg, which like I had said before, is a part of France, which is kind of neat because it's nestled right in the middle of Germany, and it's also the site of the seat of the European Parliament. It's a cars allowed Parc de Petite portion of Strasbourg where we go, and just an absolutely a beautiful day to just be wandering the streets and enjoying time in Strasbourg. From Strasbourg, we continue on to Basel, Switzerland, where then we'll disembark the ship. From that point, we begin our Switzerland portion, and beginning with Bern and then eventually Lucerne. Okay. And now we begin our 4 days in Switzerland. So we've done the Rhine River, seeing these incredible places like Cologne and Koblenz, and then we now begin our land portion in Switzerland, and it almost feels like a separate trip from what we've just experienced. So for Lucerne, which would be kind of in central Switzerland, a little bit southern Switzerland, right on the lake, Lake Lucerne, we stay in a hotel that's been there for over 200 years. It's been known for having all sorts of famous people there, from Mark Twain to Nabokov to Keith Richards. I don't think Keith Richards remembered it, but he was there. And it's wonderful. And my favorite day on the entire itinerary is in Lucerne, where we begin and we go up to Mount Pilatus, which you can see in the bottom left there. We take a kind of like a giant ski kind of vehicle up to the top of Mount Pilatus. We have lunch there, and then we take the cogwheel train down to the base of Mount Lucerne. Then you get to Mount Lucerne, we have a private boat ride, you have a beer, you're back in town by the covered bridge, which you can see above it, and just walking the streets of Lucerne. It's magic. I love that day. So after Lucerne is when we take the Glacier Express, which you had seen in the previous slide, and we're taking that onward into the heart of the Alps to Zermatt. So Zermatt would be this tiny little town, the middle picture on the bottom. Really does feel like you're going back in time when you go to Zermatt. It's a skiing town during the winter. In the summer, it's just beautiful for strolling. And then the star of the show, of course, is the Matterhorn, where we spend a day just getting lost up. There's hiking trails. You can take the Gornergrat Bahn, and you cannot think of a better way to end a trip. So you've done the whole Rhine River cruise, 4 days in Switzerland, and then you're looking out at the Matterhorn. And so that is the great journey through Europe. And we have our post tour, and I had to add the rice owl on Van Gogh's on his little table there, so I had to do it. But so the Amsterdam pre-tour, you can go, we do the Rijksmuseum, you can go to the Van Gogh Museum, and just really kind of get more in depth into Amsterdam. So moving right along. Now this is a completely different trip from the first two I've talked about. This is our village life along the Italian lakes, and what's different about it is that it's land-based, and the idea being that you're in one place, being Como, and then you're going out to all these various different excursions during the day, but you're always back to Como by, the mid to late afternoons. You can walk along the lake. Our guides are all from there, so you get to know your restaurant. You get to know where the places to get your pastry in the morning. And it's one of these where you really kind of get into the authentic Como lifestyle for a week. And it will be September 18th through the 26th, and we'll have a Venice and Verona post tour. So Shannon, if you will. So we stay at the Palace Hotel. It's easily one of the most beautiful properties I've seen. It's right on the lake. It's right on this promenade that, you're a stone's throw from downtown Como, from old Como. And it has this outdoor property and terrace that looks over the lake. That's that first picture. And then that's the entrance in the bottom left. So, and it's been around, it's been refurbished, obviously, but it's been around for, I think, about 200 years. It was a private property at one point. Just couldn't think of a better place to begin the trip. So you'd fly into Milan and then make your way to Como right off the bat and get right into the heart of things in Como. So that first day, we would do a walking tour of Como, just get to experience the town, get to know it, get your feel for where you're going, go to the old town, go to the Duomo. And then that next day we begin experiencing some of the other lakes of the lake regions, namely the Lake Maggiore. So we'll do a private lake tour of Maggiore with the main item going to these various Bornerian islands. So you have Stresa, and then you have Isola Bella. And Isola Bella is the picture that you can see there. It's these gorgeous properties. You can see those are the gardens there, and we'll spend an afternoon on Isola Bella, and then make our way back to town, and then eventually back to Como. And none of these are very far from one another. So you're not on a coach for 4 hours or anything like that. All of these are, all the lakes in the Lake District are relatively close to one another, which is quite nice. From there, we have our day in Milan. So we do go down and spend a full day in Milan. The big thing being that we'll go to the Santa Maria del Grazie to see the Last Supper. And then we have free time just to enjoy Milan and get a full Milan experience before making our way back to Como. Then from there, from Como, we'll spend a day going around Lake Como. So we do a private ride similar to Maggiore, where we'll do a ride around Lake Como. We go to the Del Barbianello, which has an incredible private art collection. Bellagio is this small little town, and it's really beautiful. And then we wave to George and Amal Clooney at their house. They come out and see us. We pay them. No, I'm joking. But the next day we go to Lake Orta, which is our final lake on the Italian lakes trip. And the big thing there is to see the artworks, the Sacro Monte di Orta, and another just leisurely day that you can't beat. And then the final day is in Como with anything you want to do. We have all sorts of planned things if you want it, but if you want to just enjoy it and just be in Como, we do that to finish the trip. So that would be our Italian lakes, and that would be our village life style trip, where you get to know one place, land-based. Venice post tour, and Verona as well, if you want to get a little bit more in depth in some of those spots. All right, our final trip, completely different now. So we've gone from the great journey on the Rhine River to drinking wine in Como, to seeing the Amalfi Coast. And now, if you want to, it's going to be, and I'm sorry, I have the dates wrong. It's actually going to be in November 2nd through November 14th. I apologize for that. I wrote an old date down there, but it's going to be in November, which is kind of neat. We've operated in November before. It avoids the rainy season, and it's actually a lot less crowded. I mean, I think a lot of these places might be less crowded in general, but we're really excited to operate it in the fall. So again, I apologize for that date, but it's going to be in November. So Shannon, if you will. The Wind Spirit, it's a 5-star sailing vessel, 100% ocean view accommodations. They do a spectacular job of kind of marrying luxury 5-star accommodations with also active aquatic sports, kayaking, snorkeling, things of that nature, and 2 restaurants with James Beard Foundation stamps there. Yeah, you can move on, Shannon. Okay, so right off the bat, we arrive in Papayete, and then we would spend a day in Papayete and then embark the Wind Spirit. And what's nice is that the first day or two really kind of set the tone for the rest of the trip, in the idea of having just unadulterated beach time, snorkeling, seeing some of the most spectacular outdoor, ecological things, also with history and culture of the Polynesian people going back to the 500 BCE, which you can see below in a marae there that we visit in Moorea. And then, if you will, Shannon. And same thing. So this is consistent theme throughout. We go to Raiatea, and then we go to Bora Bora. So some of the things that we'll do, in addition to just anchoring outside of private beaches where we're the only ones there, and the Wind Star crew sets up the whole kind of setup along the beach where it's just our group, we'll go to pearl farms where you can see how people are harvesting pearls. We go to a spice center where you can see some of the famous kind of spices that come out of Tahiti and that Polynesian culture. We go to more maraes and more historical culture sites. And then we go to a research center that's kind of mapping kind of the sea levels and various things of that nature throughout the Society Islands. But the main thing is that we're really there to just enjoy this incredible slice of nature out in the Pacific Ocean. And then we finished with Gohagan, where it's this would be where you get to see more of the tropical kind of foresty portion of the Society Islands. We'll go through walks there. There's a nestled in the middle of the forest, there's a fantastic cultural site with 200 stone structures from Polynesian historical tribe, and just really beautiful. And then finally, you go off into the sunset on the Wind Spirit, and then home to the real world. And that would be our Tahiti and Polynesia. And then we have a post tour in Moorea where you stay at the Intercontinental, and that's just to enjoy one of the most unique, incredible properties and one of the most beautiful islands in all of the Pacific. That's what that would be about for the post-tour extension. So I wanted to thank Shannon, the Rice Alumni Association team, and I want to thank all the Traveling Owls for letting me kind of join you here on this Wednesday afternoon. I always enjoy it. It's fun to get a chance to actually be talking travel to people who I know are really well traveled and really highly educated and interested in seeing the world. So thank you all for letting me join you today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Are there any questions? I don't see anything in the chat, but is there anything you'd like to ask Robert about these trips or about Gohagan in general?
If you think of anything, just let Shannon know, and I'm always available. And I'm happy to even talk to anyone if you want to talk more about the itineraries. I feel I've talked your ears off or your Zoom ears off already. But if anyone does think of anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to Shannon and we can connect.
Yeah, you did such a great job with your presentation. They don't have any questions.
I have a quick question.
So.
I have a quick
Yes.
question. Is Robin more on any of these trips?
She will be. Nancy, she is itching to get out there. So Robin would be one of our longtime Gohagan travel directors and kind of a prime example of she's been everywhere. She's really she's wonderful and she's been she's been homebound, which for a travel director it's like it drives you nuts. So she's ready, Nancy. So when you are ready, she'll be ready too for you. All right. Okay, we have one question. How much free time? So we have that's been a big thing that we have really taken on as an important factor of all our trips. Starting about 5 or 6 years ago, we made a concerted effort and free time, that is, and that informs every one of our itineraries. So I would say, you know, at any of these places we go, we have a half day that is planned and that you're with all these experts and you're seeing these sites. And then you're going to have a half day to just get lost in these places and enjoy it or be snorkeling or doing that. And the other thing is that we have the Gohagan travel directors and we have our local guides who are always there too if you want to stay with them. So it's really kind of up to you, but we really made a concerted effort in all of our itineraries to build in free time to really just kind of get to know the place. All right.
Okay, well, I'm not seeing any other questions. Again,
Okay.
like Robert said, if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to email travelingowls@rice.edu. And if I don't have the answer, I'll reach out to Gohagan and we'll get you that answer as soon as possible. I want to thank Robert for a fantastic presentation on those 4 trips. I'm very excited. And that's all that we've got. I want to thank you guys for spending your day with us and hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.